Okay, so when I say AI for kids, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Is it coding boot camps? Maybe robotics competitions? Well, today we're going to look at a course that basically throws that whole playbook right out the window. We're diving into a program called Kids Aid, and its whole approach is that AI isn't just a technical skill, it's a creative mindset.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll challenge the whole conventional view of AI education. Then, we'll get into the philosophy behind this really different approach, unpack the amazing creative tools they use, figure out why design is so important, and finally, see what it all looks like in the real world.
All right, first up, let's set the scene a little. To really get what makes this program so special, we've got to first understand what it's pushing back against. So, I'll just ask you straight up, what do you picture when you hear AI for kids? I'm guessing for most of us, it's a world of competitive coding, right? Building little machines, focusing on those hard technical skills, all to land a job someday. But what if there's another way to think about it entirely?
And this slide right here really just nails the difference. On one hand, you have the usual approach. It's all about mimicking patterns, getting you ready for a specific job, basically focusing on what we already know how to do. But the Kids Aid approach? That's all about understanding the logic of intelligence itself. It's about fostering a mindset that isn't afraid to challenge what we don't know. You see the shift? It's a huge move from just imitating to actually innovating.
Okay, so what is this new mindset built on anyway? Let's get into the core philosophy that's driving this whole Kids Aid program.
Now, this is the part I find absolutely fascinating. Get this. Instead of looking at AI at its most advanced, super intelligent peak, this course goes right back to its origins. It makes this incredible parallel, that the current state of AI, which is still kind of clunky in learning, is actually a lot like the developing mind of a child. And that makes kids the perfect people to not just learn about it, but to actually help shape where it goes next. This quote just perfectly sums it all up. The goal isn't just to automate stuff we can already do. Nope. It's about using technology as a tool for exploration, to ask bigger questions, and to push the boundaries of what humans and machines know. It's about going from being just a user to being a true explorer.
So, if you're not just sitting there building robots, what are you doing? Well, this is where the course gets incredibly creative. They use a toolbox that you would probably never, ever expect.
So yeah, forget textbooks and boring lectures. The tools here are puzzles, memes, ancient myths, big philosophical questions, and even theatrical games. It's a curriculum that's built to fire up a totally different part of your brain. Let's take puzzles, for instance. We usually think of them as problems we need to solve, right? But this course completely flips that on its head. The students here are challenged to create the puzzles. Why? Because making a good puzzle forces you to think in a totally different way. You have to design a system. You have to guess how someone else will think. You have to understand logic from the inside out.
And then you have memes. And no, I'm not just talking about funny cat pictures. I mean the original idea of a meme, a pattern of thought that spreads. The course uses these familiar things, like fables, jokes, and myths, as little packages to deliver these huge, complex ideas, like recursion or determinism. It makes them digestible, memorable, and, honestly, kind of fun.
Ancient Greek and Chinese myths are a huge tool, too. Stories like the labyrinth or the butterfly dream, they're not just bedtime stories. They're like these little compressed packets of knowledge about systems and identity and how we see the world. They become these amazing, memorable launch pads for projects that dive deep into ideas at the heart of AI.
And philosophy isn't just for stuffy college professors. The course brings in these classic thought experiments, like this twist on the ship of Theseus. It's such a simple question, right? But there's no easy answer. And it just cracks open these deep conversations about identity, data, and memory, which are all, you guessed it, totally crucial topics in the world of AI.
So, what's with all the creativity, the puzzles, the myths? Why does any of this matter? Well, the answer is right there in the last letter of the course's name, the D in AID. Kids Aid. It stands for Artificial Intelligence and Design. And in this course, design is not an afterthought. It is a full equal partner with AI. It's really the engine that makes the whole thing run.
So why is design so important here? Because it's the framework that actually fosters creativity. It sparks real innovation, and it encourages that kind of wild imagination that leads to actual breakthroughs. It's that uniquely human ability to ask, what if? Something that you really can't automate.
And that brings us to the ultimate goal. By mashing up design thinking with AI, the course is trying to make these young minds future-proof. It's giving them the creative, innovative, and imaginative skills that are always going to be valuable, making them resistant to ever being replaced by some repetitive, boring robot. Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but how does it actually translate into practice? Let's take a look at how the students really apply this unique way of thinking.
The proof of concept for this whole course, well, it all comes down to one thing: a final project. This is where the students take all these abstract ideas, from philosophy to puzzle making, and show what they've learned in a real, tangible way.
And the results are just incredibly diverse. Instead of just a boring piece of code, a final project could be a piece of AI-inspired art, or a whole theatrical performance about how humans and machines get along, or even a detailed business plan for a new startup.
Now, don't mistake all this philosophical talk for a lack of technical skills. The students are absolutely using cutting-edge tech. They're bringing their creative visions to life with custom code, deep AI, virtual reality, even NFTs. It's the perfect mix of high-concept thinking and high-tech execution.
And so we end with this final, really thought-provoking question. We always think of ourselves as the ones in charge, right? Programming AI to tell our stories. But maybe, just maybe, we're also waiting for AI to tell us its story, to show us patterns and possibilities that we can't even see yet. It's a powerful idea about the future of creativity, and it's a future these kids are now uniquely prepared to go out and explore.